Donald Trump has screwed up so badly that there is now a very real chance, a very real possibility that by next summer, the United States Treasury, where the money is for the United States to use to operate, they could be bankrupt. Just like all of those businesses over the years that Donald Trump himself personally bankrupted it, he is now screwed up so badly, is so incompetent at even just being president, that the United States is on the verge of a fiscal collapse. And the reason for that is because of the lower court ruling saying that no, you cannot invoke an economic emergency and give yourself the power to enact tariffs. That is, in fact, a power reserved for Congress. So as we all know, of course, the lower court, based on that particular legal challenge that did not challenge all of the tariffs, just the ones using the IEEPA, those are gone. Now, of course, there is a temporary stay. They don't have to go back just yet. But Trump's going to send it to the Supreme Court. And depending on their decision, it could in fact bankrupt the United States of America. I'll explain how that would happen in just a moment, but first a quick word from today's video sponsor. By now you know Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed. But almost no one's reporting how ICE will get nearly $40 billion of our tax money each year, making it the most heavily funded law enforcement agency in U.S. history. That's more money than most nations spend on their entire military. So much of our media is either missing the worst of this bill or twisting the language so you think it's all in your best interest. But we've seen the ICE raids ramping up. Now Trump's openly threatening to deport U.S. citizens. This should be the biggest story in America, yet it's buried. Making ground news essential right now is what all of this is doing. They're the only tool I've found exposing these blind spots in the media. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, then analyzing just how far right and radical each unbiased source actually is, you get way more context than you ever would anywhere else. If we're being honest, we've seen Trump's power grabs throughout history. They said never again, and that means never again everywhere. And right now, it's happening here. So if you want to stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply finding the stories missing from your news feeds, Ground News has you covered. Their app and website is a smarter, more reliable way to stay informed at a time when MAGA is banking on us to stay distracted. So I've partnered with them to get you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I have been using. That comes out to $5 a month for unlimited access to everything I've mentioned and so much more. Just go to ground.news/Farron or scan the QR code to subscribe. With at least another 4 years of this, we can't afford to miss these details. So when Donald Trump eventually appeals this case challenging his authority under the IEEPA to enact tariffs, when it makes its way to the Supreme Court, and it will, the Supreme Court will make their decision. Either Trump does have the authority that is explicitly given to Congress, or no, obviously Congress has that power. If the Supreme Court says that Congress has the power, not Trump, it will effective immediately nullify all of his tariffs. At that moment, the United States government will immediately be responsible for repaying all of the tariffs that have been paid to the federal government. And those are paid, of course, by the businesses in the U.S. doing the importing. Right now, the estimates are roughly $30 billion a month. But the government would not only have to repay the initial tariff, they also have to repay it with interest from the date it was paid to them. So if this is not overturned until next summer, or ruled on till next summer and the tariffs are overturned, we're talking over a year's worth of interest at 7%. which means the grand total of the amount of money that the federal government will immediately owe these companies is over $500 billion, over $500 billion that the federal government, the US Treasury, will immediately have to repay. And if they don't immediately repay it, that interest still accumulates and then they owe more. So the government would have to pay out $500 million. Do you know how much money the US Treasury has on hand right now? Well, technically, we don't know that because the numbers haven't come out, but we do know that at the end of 2024, when the economy was doing better, they had $820 billion on hand. So if we're assuming the money stays relatively the same, then we would be losing more than half of the cash reserves of the United States of America. In an instant, that money would be gone. It would be owed to these individuals, and if the government doesn't pay quick enough, they would sue. The country would lose more than half of its money, folks. I don't know if that is sinking in or if you understand what that does to us, but we're cooked at that point. It's over. We are a bankrupt nation because Donald Trump only knows how to bankrupt things. Here's where it gets even worse. The Treasury's already losing money. The bond market for US Treasury bonds is dying. The value of the dollar overseas is dropping, which means other countries are less inclined to buy our Treasury bonds. And if we end up losing more than half of our money, or God forbid, all of it, then we have no cash to pay our national debts to other countries. Those bonds essentially become worthless. People who have invested in bonds lose everything because the government can't pay them. We will default on all of our debts, which means all of those debts we, owe to China or India or Europe, they're going to come knocking on our door immediately and say, hey, we found out you're bankrupt. You owe us this much money. We're going to have to take other things from you in order to get our money back, because we're calling our marker right now because we know you have no money. Markets would bottom out. And when I say bottom out, I mean literally bottom out. Like, we would lose almost everything in the stock markets as a result of this. We would lose the entire bond market. All of it because Donald Trump overstepped his authority in putting these tariffs in place that are already crushing our economy, reducing the amount of money the Treasury is going to have. And you see how this is already snowballing before we even get to the decision? Granted, all of this is hypothetical. The Supreme Court may come out and say, no, Trump can put tariffs in place. Who cares about bills Congress has passed saying he can't do it? We don't care, so he can do it. If they do that, then yeah, we're just regular economically screwed because we still pay the higher prices because of the tariffs. But if they overturn it, which they should, we're pretty much cooked, and the United States will just go down as yet another entity that Donald Trump sent into bankruptcy. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.